Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. We are back with Dr. Laura Griffith Garland, as we usually are, same time, same place here from Charleston, South Carolina. She's a holistic inspiration coach, owner of her own company. She's also a Reiki master, shaman, tarot reader. She's does so much. CharlestonReikiandTarot.com is her website, and also her past life of being a neuroscientist, a physicist in the Navy. She's done everything. Please say hello to everyone today.
Hi, Jill. I am very glad to be here. It has been a rough morning.
I'm so sorry. Please share or
Yeah,
whatever you
it's
do.
yeah, it's just one of those days when nothing seems to go quite right. Woke up this morning to use just do normal things around the house a little bit before you leave, including wash out something in the kitchen sink, and there was extra water running. So open up the doors, and not only is the incoming water pipe broken somehow, but one of the drain pipes is broken somehow all this morning. So, it's just been one of those days.
So are we talking severe flooding?
No, I managed to get under there, and it was above the shutoff valve. So I managed to get the shutoff valve, but and it's copper. I don't do copper. I can do PVC all day long.
Wow, look at you.
But copper requires patience, and my patience isn't so good with doing the copper. So there was that this morning, and then I work as the office manager for our office for my husband, and I get in this morning, and we had 3 no-shows for him this morning, and it's just been insane. And like, our appointment program sent out messages with the completely wrong time. We don't understand. So people thought they were supposed to come in at a different time, and it's just been a morning. So I'm not as prepared as I usually am, because I've spent the morning trying to call plumbers and deal with our patients.
Oh God.
And things like that. So I don't know. I came up with my cards today were grief, doubt, and growth, and I'm like, oh wow, okay.
I got the grief. Got it.
Yeah, I got a lot of the grief. Definitely had a lot of grief this morning.
Yeah.
And I'm just doubting myself as to being able to work through all of this. But then I'm like, well, this is obviously a growth experience.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's just been kind of nuts. And very clearly they're wanting us to be like growth. Okay. When we have situations where things just seem to be falling apart.
Yep.
It's about how can you grow through this? Yep. Because when you start doubting yourself, that's actually when the things start falling apart. When external stuff is going on that you have absolutely no control over. Plumbing. I have no idea. I had no control over that. I didn't do anything to it. It's underneath the cabinet. It wasn't like anybody did anything to it. It's an older house. It's older than I am, so it's even older than dirt. I had a very young client yesterday make a remark on she had no idea that I was over 50 and how old that was. And then she like turned bright pink when she realized what she said. So So
Oh
I'm
my
telling
gosh.
the plumber this morning, yeah, the house is over 50 years old. And I don't think anything's ever been done on that stuff under the sink. I mean, you don't do anything unless something breaks. And
True.
it hadn't. And so, but it's completely outside. I can't do any. I didn't cause it, outside my
Mm-hmm.
control. So you can't doubt, like, oh,
True.
I should have somehow magically known that it was going to happen. Yes, I read tarot cards.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I do. But I don't usually read for myself. And I didn't ask about the kitchen sink the last time I did. So
Oh.
yeah. People are like, oh, you should have known. I'm like, really? Yeah, I don't, that's not, it's not what I do. It's not what people that I know and who do that. I know some people who kind of get inklings about stuff in their own life, but I don't tune into that. That's not
Yeah.
something I tune into directly. I do try to pay attention to my intuition, but I didn't get any hit on something was going to happen with the sink. And then clients not showing up for my husband this morning. Again, it was just like outside my control. So this is a growth thing.
But it
Not
happens. Yep. Yep. Yep.
not a doubt thing. We don't, it's not something I did. So I can't start doubting myself on it, because when I do, as soon as I started to go toward that just a little, and I was like, wait, no. And then I pulled the cards and I was like, oh yeah, growth thing.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So it's just kind of a huge lesson for, I think, what we have going on right now. There's so much that we could have grief about right now.
True.
Whether it's, your plumbing going crazy, or your car breaking down, or your losing things, because you can grieve about losing things. You can grieve about having things go wrong. You can grieve about it's not just about losing a person.
Yep.
You can grieve about relationships going wrong. You can have grief about missing opportunities.
True.
Looking back and being like, holy cow, that was something big, and I completely missed it. I completely missed the $1 billion lottery.
So did I. Everyone was talking about it the next day. I'm like, what? Like, you didn't know? And then you had another chance because the person didn't win originally. And I'm like, out of the loop I am. Yep. Uh-huh.
So you can grieve weird things. You can grieve lost dreams.
Yeah.
All kinds of stuff you can grieve. And then when you grieve about something, that can turn into doubt. Actually had a client early this summer. Well, in Charleston, summer starts in May, so it does. So early this summer, who came in and was unable to. They thought that they couldn't love anyone, because if they loved someone, they would die. Over a 15-year approximately time span, they lost 5 people who were really close to them. Like a mother due to cancer, a best friend in high school due to suicide, their boyfriend in Afghanistan due to an IED. Yeah, not good on that one. An uncle, really, really close uncle due to COVID. It was a best friend. I think it was a best friend due to a car accident just recently. And they had felt really, really close to all of these people, and came in and they're like, I don't dare love anyone. They actually came in because they thought they had a curse.
Yeah.
So that was the original reason for coming in. They thought they had a curse, and they were really sure, they doubted that they could ever love anyone because everyone they quote unquote love died. And it took some work to work through each of the incidents to get rid of that doubt, to realize there was no quote unquote fault involved here.
Yeah.
They had made the association because our brains make patterns. It's what we do. We make patterns with everything.
Yeah.
And so, 5 really close deaths, and they'd made this association. It was a pattern, but was it a cause and effect pattern? No, it was just an association pattern. And part of it was growth. They signed on this life to learn a lesson about loss.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that one's just that it's a tough lesson, especially with that much showing up. And then some of the relationships were really intense because there was a karma thing going on there also. So it wasn't a curse that was causing this. Part of it was they signed on to learn about loss, so a growth lesson, and part of it was a karmic thing, because I fully believe in past lives. And one of the things I do is do past life retrievals to find out what's going on. And I unfortunately never get to do the fun past lives, happy past lives. I don't get that.
Yes.
Because I'm always working on helping someone with a pattern or a difficulty or something that's not going well in this life. And something doesn't go well in this life if the past life that we're talking about was all perfect and wonderful.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. Yeah. So I only go get the sad ones, and I had to go back for 2 on this particular client to find out what the relationship was. And one was the uncle who died of COVID, and that was a relationship where in a past life, not to reveal too much, other than the soul who was the uncle did something really not nice to the soul of the person who was my client.
Wow.
And in this life, they did actually make it work. They were supposed to make it work. And when my client's mother died, this uncle was the one who stepped in to do a lot of the care. And so the uncle's soul made up for what had happened in a past life. And so the whole point was them to do this, and they had worked through that. So when the uncle passed with COVID, the 2 souls had worked through their issue, but it felt really strong to my client because there was that going on. So that was just one of the examples, and it was just helping the client work through this to understand that it wasn't them and it wasn't a curse.
Yeah.
That caused any of this. And just the realization of that it was learning for loss. I when we got done with that, we both felt the energy shift.
Mm-hmm.
And she is now in a lovely relationship with someone. So we're hopeful that she is moving forward and has done her growth, which is just really, really awesome to see, because she was in a really bad place when she came in. She was very, very not happy. Probably heading toward depression, but luckily she called me before she got there, so we could work through this so that she didn't have to get on the very long wait list to see my husband for counseling. Charleston is like so many places in the country right now, where almost every counselor has a wait list. I don't know whether you watch John Oliver.
No, I don't.
But this week he actually did a whole thing on mental health care in the United States, and how so many of our counselors are they're overbooked, and or have really long wait lists. Something like 65% of counselors have no places for new appointments. So it's all I was so happy that she came in to see me before it progressed to the stage where she would have needed to see my husband. And that's the thing about being a coach, is if you're right on that edge of maybe slightly gone into depression, but aren't deeply into it, a coach can really help you, because a lot of what the counselor would do for that real low level depression is the same thing that a coach is going to do. We're going to work with you on understand what's going on in your head. And a lot of it's self-talk, right? You talk yourself into a lot of these things. And so we work with you on talking yourself out of a lot of these things. And then meditation. I'm always for meditation. It's always a thing. I'm really hopeful that people out there, if you feel like you're on the edge, know that there's something else out there other than just counselors, because the counselors and the psychologists and the psychiatrists are just slammed right now. And with a good coach, if you aren't too far into something, a good coach can work with you to help you through that, because we are trained to help make your life better. That's what it's about. I don't know. But I can also do other crazy things like the past life retrievals when that comes up. Have you ever gotten up in the middle of the night, walked into your bathroom, like with the light off, and seen yourself in the mirror and not seen yourself and seen someone else?
No, but I don't ever walk into but I know what you mean, but no, yeah. I'm always half asleep when I run to the bathroom. I don't even look in the mirror. I never even thought about that. But
no, when I was back in my 20s and first learning a lot of this stuff, I would do that occasionally. I'd look in the mirror and like see someone like my eyes, but a different image. And then I'd be just like, oh man, it just must be the lighting or whatever. And then I realized that actually I was tapping into one of my own past lives. And I have had clients since then who have reported really, really similar things, like middle of the night, step into the bathroom, just enough light to see an image in the mirror, but not really well. And like totally freak out because it looks like it's not them. And they're like, oh my God, there's somebody possessing me. And I'm like, no, it's really not. but that's one really interesting way to tap into that sometimes for some people. So how about deja vu? How much deja vu have you run up against?
Yeah, all the time deja vu for sure. It's bizarre. And what does that really mean? That means you really were here, or you really know that it's happened in a past life. It happens a lot.
It kind of depends on what type of deja vu.
Okay.
Like, but deja vu where you go to a place and you know you've never been there, but you swear you've been there. I've had a lot of people tell me that the very first time they ever come to Charleston, they swear they've been to Charleston. And it's not just because Army Wives was filmed here or anything like that. Literally, they swear they've been to Charleston. I've had a lot of people tell me that about like other cities that they've been to. And a deja vu of that sort. I really do think that that's a past life sort of deja vu going on. My husband, the very first time he came to Charleston, we went downtown and he like completely freaked out because he was like naming the streets and all of this, and he'd never been to Charleston. And this is long before they were doing any filming in Charleston at all. And it like totally freaked him out. And I did a past life retrieval for him one time and found out he lived here in Charleston.
Wow.
And so it was really kind of interesting. The deja vus where you think you're having a conversation with someone and you swear you've already had that conversation.
Yeah.
That one I think is kind of a forward projection. I think time is not as linear as we say it is. I guess the best way to say that. And I think sometimes we can like jump forward a little bit, like especially while we're asleep or right in that sleeping waking state. And it can be part of a dream. We could remember it or not remember it at all. And then when the event comes up, you can you'll know exactly what the other person's going to say. You know what you're going to say back. You know what the third person is going to say. Strange things like that. And lots of people experience that. And physics tells us time is not the same sort of linear thing that we actually say it is. And actually, in a lot of physics, time doesn't need to exist the way humans describe it. So there's a lot out there that we don't yet know. And I think we're getting closer to knowing some of it. You've heard of chakras, right?
All the main 7, and I know there's more.
Yes, all the main 7. There are now instruments out there that measure your chakras. They can measure whether or not your energy is flowing properly, whether you've quote unquote got it blocked or whether or not there's some disruption in the chakra. There's actually instruments out there that measure that now. Dr. Joe Dispenza uses them quite a bit with his programs to understand what's going on with people. So we can actually measure chakras now and tell whether or not your energy is doing what it's supposed to do. You're pretty empathic.
Yeah,
right?
well, so you said that. I think so sometimes, but I'm not like you, no. But sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. A lot of people are. They just don't realize it. The people who pick up on social cues well tend to be fairly empathic.
Okay.
certainly anyone who walks into a room and can be like, oh man, something weird happened in here before I came in. Like there could be nobody in the room. And there's a lot of people who can do that, walk into a room and be like, oh, the vibe in here is just not right.
Yeah.
Or you can walk into a room and, just be whatever. And then suddenly you're really happy because the vibe is really up. There are also scientific instruments out there now that, and people who have been trained to read a person's emotions off of a computer screen. So they measure the person's aura, quote unquote, and it comes up as a particular series of sine waves on the computer screen. And there are people who've been trained to read the person's emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can look at a computer screen and read a person's emotions that way, why the heck can't we just pick up that energy and read it off of each other? Because we do. I think that's how empathy works.
Yeah.
I think that's how that works. But science is starting to explain this slowly. The texts, the very ancient texts out of India, the Yoga Sutra and the Bhagavad Gita. Oh, I'm so sorry. I always kill that name. Somebody out there is going to be really upset about that.
All right. It's okay. I don't know it either.
I just killed it. But anyways, those two texts describe all kinds of processes in the body and energy, and they use terms that are not really well translated out of the old Sanskrit into English. But when you look at them in a context of describing actual medical processes and actual processes in the body, you realize that 3,000 years ago, they were actually describing a lot of stuff really, really, really well, just not in English. It was, and so I think that a lot of what goes on that I do that's kind of woo-woo really isn't actually all that woo-woo. There's a whole explanation for it.
I don't
And
think
I'm
it's
hoping,
woo-woo.
I'm hoping that people decide to start working with more and more of this, because I think it really, really helps people.
Okay. And I apologize, we're out of time.
Yeah.
Laura, how do we reach out to you?
Sure. It's you can email drlaura.coach, so drlaura.coach@gmail.com, or phone 843-259-8349.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your time. Looking forward to the next time we speak, and good luck with the flood and the leakage, and hopefully it'll all get taken care of soon. All right. Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.